Joining us now is Liz Harrington, the national spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. Liz, I want to start with the president's planned executive order. What he's kind of teasing will take place later this week. We know that it'll meet some of the demands being made by protesters, that being a national standard for use of force, as well as a database to track misconduct by police. Is this kind of representative of the type of actions taken by this White House when it comes to these calls? Of course, we could look to the First Step Act, and now there's more reforms coming on this front as well. Is this demonstrative of really what the White House is looking to do?
Well, the president certainly hasn't gotten enough credit in the mainstream media and from Democrats in really leading on this issue before the recent events. He is the first president to establish a police commission since Lyndon Johnson. Of course, the First Step Act, which reformed criminal justice that so many others were not able to get across the finish line. President Trump did that. And so he's really taken such groundbreaking leadership steps on these issues. And I don't want to get ahead on the specifics of what his executive order will entail, but I can tell you he's been traveling around the country and meeting with community leaders, offering productive, healthy dialogue, trying to learn from the successes of communities and African-American police chiefs who have great relationships with their community. We need to learn from those success stories, bring people together and find solutions on what works, not just tear everyone down and have a far left-wing slogan like defund the police, which is just so out of touch and a complete non-starter.
And you know, it's not only this White House either that I want to focus on. In fact, there was a comment made last year by Van Jones. He's a criminal justice advocate and a CNN contributor, but he was speaking about what conservatives across the country are doing on this very issue. He said, the conservative movement in this country, unfortunately from my point of view, is now the leader on the issue of reform, pointing to people such as Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant, Georgia Governor Nathan Deal at the time, Secretary of Energy and former Texas Governor Rick Perry, saying they were able to cut the prison population and crime at the very same time. So he's looking at these Republican executives at the time and saying that they're leading the effort when it comes to criminal justice reform. Is this representative maybe of kind of a realignment that's taking place in the Republican Party when it comes to this issue?
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of Americans, even not Republicans, who are crying out for change of the system. Well, who are they protesting against? They're protesting Democratic leaders who've ran these cities for decades. And if you look at a city like Minneapolis, it completely top to bottom is run by Democrats. And now they're saying, well, we just have to throw out the whole system and dismantle the police, which clearly is not going to make the situation better. I think our ideas in the Republican Party are better. It's not a one-size-fits-all, top-down federal government solution, but it's listening to see what can actually be done on the local level, what works, what doesn't, still restoring a sense of law and order, but not having such a heavy influence and control by Democratic unions, which you've seen in some of these cities, and nothing ever changes under these Democrat rule. I think we need to trust the local leaders to find the best solutions for their communities. And I'm really looking forward to what Senator Tim Scott is working on in the Senate and talking about addressing these longstanding issues and allow the communities to take the lead on this.
And you talk about something that is popular with the American people, too, and sometimes fundraising does reflect that. For example, last month, the Biden campaign raised about $80 million, which is a pretty good number. Yesterday was President Trump's birthday, and he raised $14 million. That's an all-time high for fundraising in a single day. What do those numbers mean to the Trump campaign and the RNC? What does that mean as far as where the American people stand right now?
It's truly incredible. In a single day, we raised more, breaking all of our records. Our previous high was back in October when we raised $10 million in a single day. And it really shows that the American people, that silent majority, is very strong. They're very solidly behind President Trump. We've never really seen anything like it. On top of the 14 million, we made 3 million phone calls during our national weekend of action alongside President Trump's birthday. 9,000 people signed up to volunteer. And of course, now over 1 million people have signed up to see the president and request tickets for his first rally in months, when he comes to Oklahoma on Saturday. So that demand, that pent up demand, is very real, and it's very heavily on the side of President Trump.
And it shows you, too, that the American people are pretty involved in this election, maybe more so than prior elections, as they go into November, not only from the Republican side of the ticket, but we also look at the numbers that Joe Biden brought out. Also pretty high numbers within itself there, too. But I think when we look at this, it really shows you that the American people are very much so involved in this race 5 months out before they even go cast their ballots. It's pretty impressive to look at. But Liz Harrington, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for coming on tonight.